All right, it is 5:02. We'll go ahead and get started. Again, thank you for joining us this evening. My name is Alicia Fisher. I'm the proud principal at Apollo High School. We have some guests with us today that will introduce themselves and really want to thank you again for being here this evening as we launch an exciting time in the high school journey, and that's transitioning our eighth grade students into the high school. And that begins earlier than we usually anticipate in the January prior to the previous school year, because we want to do really thoughtful planning for our scholars to ensure that they have a pathway that is desirable for any career or college opportunity after high school. And so this evening, we are going to go through a very short presentation and really share with you some resources where you can explore with your student the offerings that we have at Apollo High School when it comes to courses. And we will also be spending a lot of time this evening fielding questions that you may have, and we'll talk about the format. So you can see that tonight we're in a format that is like a webcast. And so it's not necessarily interactive in the sense that we're able to use the chat, but we are going to provide a document to which you're going to be able to auto-populate questions that you may have regarding registration for this school year. And we have lots of people here with different lenses to be able to answer those questions. And so shortly, I'll go ahead and turn it over to the people who you are most familiar with. Tonight, we have with us the Kennedy principal, Anna Wilhite, as well as our North principal, Brian Nutter, and we're extremely happy to have you here today. We have school counselors. We also have our bilingual communication specialists that will be helping us translate at our future meetings here at the Somali and the Spanish meeting that will start after this. So with that, I think what I'll do is go ahead and turn it over. Brian, would you mind introducing yourself to the crowd that we have out here? And you can turn it over to Anna after that.
Good evening. I don't mind at all. Thank you, Alicia. Welcome, North and Kennedy families. I am Brian Nutter. I'm the principal at North Junior High, and so happy you could join us this evening.
Good evening, Northside 8th grade parents, future Eagles in the room. I am Anna Wilhite. I am the very happy principal of Kennedy Community School, and I'm so excited for everybody tonight to learn about the amazingness that Apollo has to offer.
Thank you both so much. Lori Olson, you are here with us this evening. Could you please introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Hello, my name is Lori Olson, and I am the special ed supervisor who oversees special ed programming at Apollo, InStep, and CO2. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Lori. Counselors, could you introduce yourself and maybe tell a little bit about the part of the alphabet or the students that you specifically serve in your individual schools?
Absolutely. Good evening, everybody. My name is Jessica Glean, and I'm one of 4 school counselors here at Apollo. And specific to our building and tech, we divide up our caseload, the students that we serve, by the first initial of your last name. So my kids I'm working with who have last names starting with E through LE. And we are super excited to get rolling with registration and excited to get these kiddos ready to rock and roll.
And hi, I'm Rick Larson, and along with Ms. Gleeden, we complete the middle part of the alphabet at Apollo. And I'm just so happy to be here. Love to be at Apollo. And I have last names L-I through P. Yeah, just am totally pumped to get your 8th grader registered and ready for the year. And I'm going to turn things on over now to the counselors that you do know. Why don't we head on over to Dave Shellstead over there at North?
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Larson. I'm Dave Shellstead. I'm guessing I know most of you North parents and students. I have all of the 8th graders who are at North or who are at DLA. This is an exciting night for me too. It's a little bit sad. I hate to think of losing all of my 8th grade babies, but I know they're going to be in good hands at Apollo, and I'm really excited about all the opportunities they're going to have. And I think, why don't I turn it out over to Miss Dana Thompson over at Kennedy.
Hi, good evening. I'm Dana Thompson, and I am the middle school counselor over at Kennedy. So I have 6th through 8th grade. And just like Dave, this is a bittersweet time. It's hard to let our 8th graders go. I'm excited to start talking to them about registering for 9th grade. But it's very exciting to see them spread their wings and fly also. So welcome.
Thank you so much. And Ms. Wilhite, can you close us out and bookend the principals, please? All right, at this time, we'll go ahead and jump into the content that we have. This slide deck has been prepared for this town hall meeting. Again, we're gonna only spend about maybe 5 to 10 minutes presenting direct information, and then we'll get into perhaps some question and answers through a Google form. And at this time, I'm gonna turn it over to Assistant Principal from Apollo High School, Brenda Tiber. She'll introduce herself, talk a little bit about her role, and then how we can help support you this evening in this town hall meeting.
Thank you, Alicia. Hi there, my name is Brenda Tiber, and I am one of the assistant principals at Apollo. I am also, like everyone else here, very excited for this process to bring in our students, our 8th grade students, and have them as our incoming 9th graders for next year and get them prepared for that. My role at Apollo High School is really a big role here, working with the counseling department and registration and scheduling and getting the students and your children the right classes that they need for ultimately graduation and beyond. On each of our slides today, there are just about 5 or 6 slides. You'll see at the very top, there are 3 web addresses. That is where you can submit your questions, and then we'll be monitoring. We have our counselors and Alicia monitoring those questions, and then we will save them for the end after the 5 slides, and we'll kind of go through each of those questions and answer those as best we can during this time. And again, you'll see that the web address on each of our slides, so you don't have to worry about writing it down. It'll be there. And we have one in English, one in Somali, and one in Spanish. So you just need to go to one of those. All right, so what's different about this year is our online process, or our registration process, excuse me, is all online. In the past, counselors have gone into classrooms and talked with students and kind of work with them and on the computer and getting them registered. Now, being that we're in distance learning, all of that will take place virtually and online. And so our counselors have done an amazing job setting everything up in Schoology. It's an easy 5-step process for our students. They will be doing it, the 8th graders will be doing it in their science classes. And so they'll have the support of their teacher right there as well. And they can always talk to their counselor as well for support in that process. So again, it's 5 steps, all in Schoology, taking place in science classes, and they'll have the whole month of January to do this, and closing will be February 12th. So there's a lot of time for you to ask your scholar about, you know, what they've been looking at in Schoology, have them show you the videos on how to register, go through the course guide with them, just go through this whole process with them. So ask them a lot of questions so you're really in the know and can help them pick out the best classes for them beginning next year. So that's what it will look like for the students. So it's just like they would see when they're in a class with different assignments. Those steps 1 through 4 are assignments where they actually have to submit something. And the counselors have set it up in a way where they can't go to step 2 until they've done step 1. And so it is chronological. And then that step 5, it's like a little quiz where they just say, yep, I've done all those things and I'm registered. And then the counselors at Apollo will be able to run reports and see who still needs support in finishing up that process. The first step involves just watching a video, and that video is provided in English, Somali, and Spanish. So we have 3 languages. And it's about a 20 to 25-minute video that explains the whole process for the students. And it kind of talks about each of the classes and what might be their best options if they are, depending on their interests and what they maybe want to do post-high school. So the counselors at Apollo narrate it. And so they've done a nice job really explaining the different options, especially as far as electives go, in those videos. So that's the first step, and that started yesterday in your science classes for our 8th graders. And then the next step is for students to review that course catalog. And so you'll want to ask your scholar about that course catalog, look through it. It is posted in the websites at the high schools, and I believe it's on your the district website as well. And so really ask about that, look through that, see what the choices are. And it's divvied up pretty nicely so that you can see what the best options are available for incoming 9th graders. And then in step 3, the students will actually fill out a form. It's a document that they can either highlight, they can bold their choices or circle their choices. And again, it's an electronic form that they fill out and submit in Schoology of all the classes that they're going to take. So the counselors will have access to that for each student and can see what they signed up for. So definitely help your scholar through that process as they're picking out those classes for next year. And then step 4 is where they watch a video on how to take all of those courses that they signed up for on that Google form in step 3 and transfer all that information into Skyward. So that way we have it, we have all the numbers, we know who's going where or who wants to go in particular classes so that we can start planning for how many sections we're going to be offering and who's going to be teaching those sections. And so that is step 4. Also during step 4, our board approved the process for us to apply to offer an online version of a high school or of a school, 612 secondary. And so we have a question in there and we want you to do that questionnaire with your scholar. And it asks, it describes what the online school, just a short little summary of what that online school will be. And if you would be inclined to sign your student up for that online school if we are to offer it. If we get approved and go through the right processes and are able to offer that, would you be inclined? That way we have that information and can start moving forward with that if that is something that ends up moving forward. And so big part to step 4, watching that video on how to convert all of those courses that your student signed up for in the Google form and putting that into Skyward as well as filling out that online survey. And then step 5, they just sign off that they've completed all of those steps. So this slide just kind of highlights where you can find information about registration. If you go to the Apollo homepage, which is that first screenshot there in the upper left, you'll see a tab that says counseling, and you can go ahead and tap on that counseling tab. And then this screenshot in the lower left, that's the counseling page, and you'll see a tab that says registration, and you can go ahead and click on registration, and there you will see all the videos that the students have available to them in Schoology that talk about the registration process, how to convert those things into Schoology, so that you can do that with your student if you would like, how to access the course catalog. So all that information that the students have in Schoology are available on the website. Another item that's available on the website is the flyer for Apollo that just has all of our upcoming town halls, including tonight's town hall, but we have a couple more if you still have questions or want to come on the 14th and the 21st. Also in that flyer is the information of how you can reach out to counselors. They'll be available during a Google Meet during the day, and the dates are posted there, and they'll also be available for students during advisory time. So students can hop in a Google Meet and ask some questions of their counselors. So those counselors, again, have done a great job planning and making themselves available for families and students so that you can get your questions answered and get the best options and choices of classes for next year. So I encourage you, if you have questions, to go ahead and go to one of those links on the slide, the tinyurl.com/742 English, Somali, or Spanish, and you can submit any questions, and we will go ahead and kind of look for those responses or look for those questions and address them. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Tiber. Appreciate that rundown of the process, and certainly, like many of the processes that are typically in person, and you saw the charismatic nature of our counselors. They are monitoring, adjusting like the rest of us to get this information, not just to you, but in a very informative and meaningful way. A couple of things that I would reiterate from Ms. Tiber's presentation is that at this point in time, probably the most valuable document for you to look over with your students is that course registration guide. It is very robust. In the sense that it lists all the courses that we offer with a description. If there happen to be prerequisite skills, it also lists that. And it's really nice at this point in time to have some time to kind of lay out not only what ninth grade may look like, but really thinking about what that end in mind. And I get it. 13, 14-year-olds may not be thinking about life after graduation, understandably. But we're really asking that this is a partnership and a collaboration among the school, the parent, and the student, because we want to ensure that we at Apollo are fulfilling your students' wishes and dreams. And as I'm speaking, Ms. Tiber is projecting and screen sharing the course catalog. So we have, a lot of information for you to look through. And that's partly why some of you may be wondering, like, why does this process take so long? What do you mean we have till February 12th? We start now because we really want it to be a meaningful decision-making process. You can see that we have 82 pages of information that describe not just the courses, but the programs that we have. So if you have an inkling for a specialty area, there are ways in which we can pathway you to that career or college opportunity. Along with the course guide, and I don't have this in electronic, so I'm just going to show you. We also put it kind of in a one-page menu option. And this just gives you an idea in a very small font, front and back, how many courses we offer at Apollo High School. It is a point of pride for us. And so not only do we offer a number of courses, we have high academic rigor. We have one of the highest AP counts of course offerings in central Minnesota. We really pride ourselves on, again, all of the offerings that we have. With that, I'm going to go ahead and refresh my question page here. We have a couple things popping in right now. One of the questions I saw come in is somewhat tangential to the presentation, but it's about our learning modes. The question, I won't read it verbatim, but it's asking about hearing that 742 has stated that secondary students will be remaining in hybrid through next year. This is not true. These are not decisions that have been made. We actually, our COVID response team meets on a weekly basis to look at data, not just our health data, but the data from our working groups as well, as far as roles that we may need to be filling if our staff members are on quarantine or if they are ill. But at this point in time, there's been no decision to the learning mode that will take place next school year. And so I want to be really clear about that at this point, that is untrue. The next question that has popped in is, what instructor deadlines are there for inviting students to honors classes? AP Tiber, could you please talk about the process for honors and how we are really trying to have that be a student choice and reduce the limiters that could be there for students?
Definitely. Yes, our goal was really to, just like Ms. Fisher said, to reduce those barriers for students to get into their choice of classes. And we really also want to eliminate kind of that tracking, because we know that students grow in their educational process. And so we want them to be able to have that choice. And so we have removed any application processes or requirements for students to be in honors or AP classes at the high school level. And so it is completely up to the students if they want to provide themselves that challenge and get that experience of a college class, for example, AP or college classes, or an honors class where maybe the learning is accelerated and it's deepened and there's higher expectations for letter grades. They have that choice. So we have removed any application process or other requirements for our honors, particular going into 9th grade. The choices students would have at the honors and AP levels are language arts and science. Those are honors choices. And then geography is an AP option as well.
Outstanding. Thank you so much, Ty. Appreciate it. The next question coming in is about the structure of the day. It's more about the bell schedule itself. Do we know yet if it's going to be a 6 or a 7 period day? We are moving ahead with a 6 period offering, very much as we've had in the past. Traditionally at Apollo, we had 7 classes, but really there were 6 academic classes, with one of the periods being dedicated to lunch and study hall. So we will have the same number of classes offered for students. Some of the things that we've done to free up the schedule for our scholars, particularly earlier on in their high school experience in 9th grade, is that rather than having all students take PE in 9th grade, we've really opened that up, that students need to get that graduation credit before they graduate. So they have between 9th and 12th grade to be able to get those pieces in. And as you look at our credit requirements for graduation, 63, kind of do the math at 18 a year for 6, you know that there's a lot of wiggle room for these courses. So if the question's coming in from a concern of wanting to really stack some of these honors or high rigor courses, we've opened up those avenues to allow for families and students to be able to make those choices. So it's really exciting.
It is. And I think maybe Dave or Rick was going to step in, say something.
Oh, I was just going to piggyback off of you, Ms. Tiber, on the honors, because based on the question that came in, I'm assuming that this might be a family that's signed up for classes before, so might have some older students at Apollo. So in the past, students did not actually have access to those numbers to be able to put them onto their schedule. And so it was like, okay, we'll put you with the regular class for now, and then later we will get those lists that you talked about to be able to see who makes the honors classes. So you will actually have access to those numbers, and if you have an interest in having your child take on that challenge and do honors, do AP, do advanced geometry, then you are able to do that signing up during this registration process. So that's very exciting to have those limitations not there.
Yeah, and I was also going to piggyback on that, Mr. Larson. I know at North, all of us teachers, counselor, we've really been encouraging the kids to stretch themselves and potentially look at some honors courses for next year in all of our core areas. I also know our AVID teacher has really been encouraging students to look at honors courses. So if the kids are wondering, they could certainly reach out to their North teacher or to me as their counselor too, and we'd be happy to help them with that.
Thank you, Mr. Shelstad. Appreciate that. I've refreshed my screen. I don't have more questions coming in. Again, I encourage you to use the tiny URL above to submit the questions that may be coming up. We are here for you.
And I'll just kind of step in if you came in late, just to kind of summarize real quickly what we've gone through here. Basically, just explaining that the students have started registration already for next year. They began yesterday in their science classes. There's 5 steps to the process. They have all of January to do that. The closing date is February 12th. We're encouraging families to work with their students in looking at the course catalog, which is a step 2 in the process, picking out their classes, which is step 3, and then working with your student to get those entered into Skyward so that we have that in our system for our future planning, which is step 4. And so it's a 5-step process. We really encourage families to be a part of that process. And then I did leave out, there is a question in that step 4 where they, if you are interested, if we were to offer that online school for next year, would you be inclined to send your student to the online school, yes or no, just to give us an idea as we begin that planning process, if it were to be something that we run next year. So that's a little recap if you came in a little bit late. And then yes, if you have questions, go to the URL at the top of the slide there, just pick one and go ahead and enter your questions, and we'll be monitoring those.
And I suppose at this time I could just kind of fill in what happens after the 12th, right? So where your students make their selection, and you know, then what we do is we coalesce the requests from students. And then Brenda talked about a term that we use a lot. It's called sectioning. And essentially what we do is we look at how many students signed up for a particular course. Let's just say, we'll just take that example of AP Geo. We want to know how many students have signed up for AP Geo, and then we make a decision about, is that 1 class, 2 class, or 3 classes based on class size. Those class size recommendations come right from our Board of Education. And then we start to look at pairing those courses with instructors. And then obviously at the high school level, there's a lot of nuances with licenses and different pieces with that. Our departments have a strong input in the course pairing. And then we actually start to pair those student requests with how we've built the schedule. And so I always think it's important during this time to talk about the requests that are made. We do everything in our power, and we have counselors here to attest that we do everything in our power to try to get every student all of their course choices that they want. There are certain times, and it doesn't happen often, but where there are kind of competing factors. Where maybe there's one section of 2 classes that your child wants, and they happen to land on the same class period. Our counselors do a fantastic job of working through kind of those one-offs or those personalized pieces. So I want you to kind of keep that in mind as we go through this process, that this is the first of many steps kind of down the line here. A couple questions have popped in. On step 3, an option now, the student has been through the course catalog. Is there a certain time to wait for this step? I think what they're asking is, can they kind of just move on with the steps?
The answer is yes. So as they complete each step, it's really up to their own will to choose how in depth they want to go with reviewing those materials and watching or rewatching those videos. It's as long as they have enough of the knowledge and information to move on to the next, they're good to go.
Awesome. And Jessica, I'll have you keep this question, being our AP coordinator at Apollo High School. What grade do you need to be in to take AP classes is the next question.
Great question. So I'm happy to announce that we actually get to offer this to our incoming 9th graders, that we have one opportunity as their 9th grade year to take AP Human Geography. So that one is a little bit different, just so that you know, when you're registering, our regular geography credit in class runs for 2 tries or 2 credits. And that AP Geography, Human Geography will run for all year long, or 3 credits. So that is a bigger difference between that requirement in the 9th grade year. But as a 9th grader, they'll have that 1 class option for AP. But also keep in mind, they have multiple options for advanced math, and then the honors for LA and science too. So all core subjects are covered in some sort of high rigor course.
Thank you so much, Jessica. I appreciate that. And I would say that as the students progress in their high school career, those offerings become more. There are more course offerings in that. And then also with the 2 credits for the required general geo, as opposed to the year-long course, just so you know, that 3rd credit gets banked towards electives. And all of our students need a number of electives to graduate, so that's where that credit goes. They don't lose it. They're gaining it always and making that forward momentum. It just kind of goes in a different bank for those credit requirements. As you look at the course registration guide, it lays out how many credits students need in each of the academic areas.
If you don't mind, I'd like to just speak up on, there may be some families watching that are not in our district currently. Maybe you're in an outside district, maybe you're with Athlos or a private school or homeschool or what have you. And just so you're aware, to get the process started, you'd go to the Welcome Center to get registered for our district. Right now, you could definitely go online to our website to see the course catalog. You can also go to our guidance counseling webpage to be able to see the registration videos. You're not able to follow through on those like Schoology assignments and the Skyward type of registration, but they would give you some good information at this point in time. And then you can connect with the school counselors at Apollo to be able to do that registration after you've been to the Welcome Center.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mr. Larson. We have a question about our Chinese immersion program. Thank you. What does the Chinese immersion program look like for 9th grade students at Apollo?
So I can jump in here a little bit, and then Mr. Larson, you add as I leave out details too. But yes, absolutely, we have that opportunity for our students to take that specific Chinese immersion class. The students should know that when we go to registration and they fill out their registration form in step 3, there is a difference between the course code for Chinese Immersion, and then we have an entry-level Chinese 1 class as well too. So please make sure they note that difference. And I talked to Mr. Shelstead about that as well too, and he was connecting with the teacher just to give an extra reminder to students too. So just that they're aware that it is a specific class that follows their track as far as what we're coordinating with, our outside contracts with SCSU and things like that. But it is a specific course code for that Chinese immersion course.
Yeah, I was going to say, parents who are asking, Mr. Ying also has all of those numbers. So, when your students are in class with them, if there's any confusion, they can just ask Mr. Ying and he can let them know which course numbers to put in for Chinese immersion.
And I thank you for the question, because again, it highlights, many of the programs that we have, that many of our scholars start at a young age, and we want to continue this pathway. Just one of many world language and language opportunities that we offer at Apollo High School. So keep these questions coming. This is fun.
While we have a little bit of blank space, I'll just recap again for anyone who's just joining us, who missed the content that we presented. We just talked about the 5-step process that our 8th graders began yesterday in their science classes all through Schoology. They started with step 1, which was watching a video about how the registration process works and what kind of classes would be best for them as incoming 9th graders. And then they'll be looking at the course catalog, completing a registration form, transferring that information into Skyward, and then signing off. And then we are encouraging families to work with their student and ask them about this and look at the course catalog with them throughout that month of January as the registration process closes February 12th.
Thank you so much. We have a question. I'm going to toss this to the counselors again. If I'm switching from Spanish 1 to ASL, is that an option for 4 years of high school?
That's a terrific question. And that is our hope as we're looking at that. If you're switching for Spanish 1 to ASL, it is definitely going to be based on the number of students that sign up for those particular courses as they get on. But we routinely offer ASL 1 and 2 and have been able to offer 3 and 4 for the past few years, that we've had enough student interest to be able to do that. So our hope is to be able to say that's going to happen. And we'll just see as those American Sign Language students stick with that class. So yes, great question.
Rick, I'm going to toss this one to you as well. What are the required classes for our 9th graders?
I love that question. So as we go into our core classes, language arts, you'll be taking language arts. You'll have the choice of the regular LA9, typically, or an honors LA9 class. Sometimes if a student's on an IEP or in our EL classes, they may have a different look to that, but those are the basic LA classes. Science will be a required class for you in 9th grade. I'll take the look of Science 9 at this point in time. And then math, and it's going to depend on your math track on what that is going to be. A lot of students are going into Algebra 1.2. Some may be going into geometry or geometry advanced. So it just depends on your track. And then social studies, like Ms. Fisher had stated, you've got the option of the regular geography, which is a 2-trimester course, or AP, Advanced Placement Geography, which is 3 trimesters or a year-long course. Those are the core required classes that are needed in 9th grade. There are some classes that have been traditionally in 9th grade that, as Ms. Fisher also said, as we're trying to make sure our students have as much choice and are able to do as many classes as possible with our 6-period schedule, some students choose to take like PE. That used to be for sure in 9th grade, but that is no longer. That's a requirement, but it can be taken 9th, 10th, 11th, or 12th grade, just so you're aware of that change if you've had students go through before.
Thank you, Mr. Larson.
And I would add a health to that as well, Phy-Ed and health.
Excellent, yes. And as far as that health class goes, most students, I would say, that take the regular geography will have that health credit go in that last space for that other trimester that they don't have geography, they take health. But again, yes, we do have the option that students can take that in a different year if their schedule won't allow for it in 9th grade.
Fantastic. And one of the questions came in and it asked, when are we picking classes? You can start as soon as now. The step-by-step process is in the Schoology course that you see on the screen here. So if your scholar logs into Schoology, you'll see the course, you'll see the step-by-step. Step 2 talks about the course catalog, and step 3 is the actual selection. So that process is open as soon as now, all the way through the beginning of February. And I'm just taking a look at the time here. We're approaching that 5:40 mark. We will be transitioning to our Somali interpreted meeting here in about 5 minutes. I encourage you to go ahead and auto-populate in that tiny URL link any lingering questions that you may have. But don't worry, if you get in your car and drive to the grocery store and you all of a sudden are like, hey, I have a question, we are always here for you. So please feel free to either directly reach out to your building principal, your building counselor that is currently working with you, or if you want to go ahead and stretch those extension numbers over to Apollo, we're happy to help as well. And I don't want to lose our participant count completely without thanking you again for being here this evening. Again, we're here for all of you. Let us know what you may need. I see kind of we were hovering in the 30s and we're getting down into those 20s with the viewer count. So like I said, I don't want to have people sign off without hearing our great appreciation and thanks for your time this evening.